welcome to the Body and Soul Shop. Today we're at Little Eddie's Pizzeria. Would you like some pizza? I have a 1930 custom deluxe sedan delivery. Hey. But actually, we're not here to talk about this. We're here to talk about another fun project that I got to do a few years back.
Welcome to the Body and Soul Shop.
Hey, I'm here with my buddy Ed Herrick. We did a 29 Speedster for him a few years ago, and we're just going to go into a little bit of a story about it, tell you about it, and hope you enjoy the show. So a few years ago, Ed came to me and said, Paul, I'm having this body built out in St. Louis, Missouri. Would you finish it up and paint it and everything? So do the last detail work. So I was excited about it. I never got to do a Speedster before. You know, I've done everything, all kinds of muscle cars, drag cars, whatever you name it, restorations and customs and custom, resto mods, everything, custom bikes. So I'd never done a Speedster before, so I was kind of excited about it. And we got pictures of it when it first came in my shop in the raw and everything, and it's cool. It's cool before it was finished and it's cool after it was finished. So I'm gonna let Ed go ahead and tell us the history behind it, what gave him the idea to do it, and what he started with and all that. And here we go. So the car's name is the Silver Bullet, and it's pretty cool.
Well, my wife Katie and I are big Model A buffs. In some of our journeys, we had seen some Speedsters out and really fell in love with the Speedsters. So I had the desire to build a Speedster, but I don't have the skills that Paul has to do metal work and body work and all that kind of thing. So I had to find people that could do that kind of work for me. And I was fortunate to find this fella up in the St. Louis area that built Speedster bodies. And so my wife and I purchased a chassis, a Model A Ford chassis. It's a 1929 Model A Ford chassis. And took it to him, and he measured us to make sure that we fit in the car he was going to build. And basically we turned him loose to build whatever he desired to build. And after several months of working with this fella, the body was pretty close to done, and he'd been sending me pictures all along, and really liked the progress that he was making with it. So we went up and picked it up, and then Paul started his magic of finishing it all out. There was still a little metal work to do, but more just finishing up. And Paul graciously took this project on and finished it in style. And it's just been a great little car. We've had it on the road now for 2 years, and we've put almost 5,000 miles on it, to include the Race of Gentlemen, and then we did the Speedster reunion in Lincoln, Nebraska with it this year.
So one of the things I did was finish out the side aprons on this thing. A lot of guys will put a buggy step underneath it and it's hanging down and everything. I'm like, it wouldn't look right on this car. Let's do something more trick. So I actually made oval slots that are deep, and they bolt right into the frame, so when you step on it, it's not moving. And that's kind of a cool little thing to get up inside of the car with. We put a gas filler, like an old Cobra gas filler lid, which is pretty cool, flips up. So we wanted to put some kind of really cool speedometer in it, and I had used Classic Instruments before on a special gauge. Actually, it's in the custom truck that we're building, one of those. So we call it Classic, and they sent us a really nice 7-inch gauge for that, so I incorporated that into the dash. Also, there's not a lot of storage in these. There is some storage behind the seat, but wanted a little place to put, gloves, whatever, so I did build a little glove compartment for them in the dash. So those are just a few little things. Nothing really trick, nothing that shakes the world, but it just really made this car come around. It's pretty cool. All right, so these Model A's that Ed has, they're not like show cars. They drive the fire out of them, dude. They're gone all the time somewhere, having fun adventures, and which I'm kind of jealous, but no, not really. But anyway, so this one, he's, like I said, he's put 5,000 miles on it the last couple of years, so it hasn't slept. So anyway, he's going to update the motor. He's got a fresh motor built and sitting there ready for it. And as soon as the snow starts flying and he can't drive this thing anymore in the winter, He's going to put the fresh motor in it. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about his new motor project.
Currently, the engine that we have in the Speedster is an engine that I bought with a whole lot of other Model A stuff from a guy who was just selling out. The engine was sold to me to be rebuilt but never run. So I took it apart, opened it up to validate its condition. Everything looked to be as he told me. So while I had it apart, I went ahead and put a little bit higher performance cam in it. I put a higher compression head on it, called the Lion's Head. Run a Mallory distributor on it, headers, and a 2-barrel downdraft, which is not normal on a Model A. They usually have a 1-barrel updraft. The only concern about the current engine, it runs like a top. Unlike most Model A's, it leaks no oil. Everything does like it's supposed, but it has poured bearings in it, which are the original style bearings. They don't typically hold up real well under high compression. Therefore, I had another engine built. It's been about a 2-year process because my friend that was building it, I told him I was in no hurry. He's built this completely fresh engine. The engine now has inserted bearings. It has a counterbalance, a brand new counterbalance crankshaft in it, a touring cam, a high compression head. It will have the 2-barrel Weber carburetor on it with headers, light and flywheel, and it's all fresh. So in the end, I will be more confident on taking it on longer trips because of the kind of bearings it's got in it, and I know who built it. So looking here, we got the high compression head, which is a 6-to-1. In your normal everyday hot rod society, that's not a high compression, but these came with like a 4-to-1 compression. So it's considerably more compression. Everything on this engine has been overhauled by the guy who rebuilt the block. The carburetor's overhauled, the water pump's overhauled, but it will end up with headers and a 2-barrel downdraft carburetor before it gets installed in the car. This is the water pump on a Model A. When Ford built these, they had a packing in here to seal the water inside the engine. This is called a leakless Model A Ford water pump, and it's got a seal in there so that you don't have to continually put new packing and tighten the packing to keep it from leaking. Starting back here in the rear end of the Model A Ford, they had an enclosed drive line. One thing we've upgraded this car to is a 5-speed transmission. And to do the 5-speed conversion, you have to do an open drive line. So this rear end has been fully rebuilt with the open drive line conversion in it. And also Model A's had all mechanical brakes. This car has got brakes off of like a 39 Ford, which are all hydraulic. So that's been converted also. The wheels on this Speedster, even though it's a 1929 Speedster, has 1930 or 31 wheels on it, which are 19-inch. The regular car would have had a 21-inch wheel. As we go through, you can see the shifter inside for the 5-speed transmission. A lot of Speedsters don't run hoods, or they'll run just the top, but no sides. I feel like this Speedster looks so much more finished with a full hood on it. We've grafted in the louvers off of a regular Model A hood onto this new hood. Tie downs are using parts from a company out in California that makes all kinds of stuff for antique cars. On this particular Speedster, since the shocks were going to be very visible, I felt it important to use an original Model A shock. The modern tube shocks, there's no way to hide them, and I just didn't think they fit the look of this car. So on the front, we have regular Model A Ford shocks. On the back, we have modern tube shocks, but you can hide them really well, and it works out okay. 1929 radiator, 29s use a screw-on cap instead of a quarter-turn cap. It's real easy to tell which one you got. The Stone Guard is an accessory. It's a Ford accessory. You can still buy these things. This one's not an original, but it protects the radiator because the radiator, in my mind, is just looking for a rock to go through it and cause you to be off the side of the road. This little hole right here is so that you could do a hand crank start if your starter failed. The steering wheel, the steering column is all Model A Ford, 29 Model A Ford. This little lever is for spark advance. So when we start it, we completely retard the timing to 0, and then once we get the engine started, we pull it down and advance it for running. Then we have another little lever over here that is a hand throttle, so that for many reasons you can use the hand throttle. Sometimes if you're on a hill, you got about 3 feet worth of work down there to get started, and you can use the hand throttle to keep from rolling backwards. There's really nothing original on this car except for the chassis. A fella in Nashville who has done aircraft upholstery for me built these seats for me. The nice thing is we do have storage back here, so in the event we want to take a overnighter trip, we can throw a small bag with us. We can take a few parts with us, some tools, instead of having to hold them in our lap. Right now you're looking at a back tail light, which is a brake, turn signal, all-inclusive, and also a license plate light, and it is a stock style tail light assembly. With the Model A Ford, they can't have a glove box because generally your fuel tank is right here in the cowl section. But since this is not a stock Model A cowl, we had all this space in here, and looking for places to put things, spoke to Paul about possibly putting in a glove box. And again, great idea. He just did a wonderful job. So now we have a glove box that we can keep our riding gear and spare fuses and registration and whatever.
So a lot of times customers want to take you for a ride, and it's fun to go for a ride. Sometimes I'll drive and sometimes I won't. But Mr. Ed says, hey, let's go for a ride down the road. And now, keep in mind, I've ridden motorcycles my whole life. I mean, since I was a kid, right? So we start down the road, and he's probably going, I don't know, 110 something. No, I mean 45 miles an hour, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, man, I said, dude, you got to pull over. I'm having a hard time catching my breath. It was just kind of weird. So, just a funny, weird story about me. I don't know. It literally took my breath away.
So originally, Model A Fords do not use air cleaners. They have an updraft carburetor on them. The carburetor's way down here, but they didn't use air cleaners. But we decided to take this car over to the Race of Gentlemen at Wildwood, New Jersey, and I felt like being in the sand, I better put some kind of an air cleaner on it. So I used a motorcycle sock on this thing to keep the sand out of it. This is the stock air cleaner that would be on the Weber carburetor, but I felt like it didn't match the car, so we came up with this plenum type air cleaner arrangement. Hey, we're going to take this little car for a little drive and see what it'll do.
Okay guys, I know we've showed a Model A or two, but the Speedster is something you don't see every day, and it was a fun project, so we just wanted to show you that. We got a lot more stuff coming up. We're going to dig back in the archives and bring out tons of stuff that nobody's seen, or I shouldn't say nobody's seen, but most of y'all haven't seen. So hang with us on that. And right now we're going to transition to the 65 F100. We got the doors back from the blast shop, so I'm going to show you what them turned out like when somebody touches bare metal, some people are very acidic and they'll start rusting right away. And somebody's touched them, but I'm gonna put gloves on and I'm gonna pick them up and show you how they turned out, so you can see how nice the doors these are. Okay, so these are pretty nice doors, man. Like I said, from the swap meet that we got over there at the Redneck Rumble, and we took them and got them blasted. A blast from the past over in Lebanon. They've blasted tons of cars that I've done, and I really enjoy working with them guys. So I'm going to show you what they turned out like. I have not found any major surprises. I'm going to flip it up so you can see the bottom of it. Look how clean these things are, man. That was just a major blessing to find these doors this solid. That doesn't happen every day, I promise you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so these were off of an F600. There's a little bit of damage where the mirrors were bolted on. You know, somebody probably bumped a tree or backed into something with the mirror and dented it a little bit, but that's very minor. We'll go through, we'll weld these holes shut, and we'll be in business in no time with these doors. So here's the passenger door bottom. Look how solid that is. That's just amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. I couldn't have found a better set of doors. Another day at the shop. There's a lot of projects we're juggling around here and getting things ready. We're doing a lot of block sanding on the custom truck. It's almost ready to reprime, and I'm looking forward to that day. It won't be long now. So we're getting a lot of parts in for the F100, the 65 F100. We're going to get the fuel injection, the front runner system, and all that stuff. We got a lot of parts coming. So hang in there with us. I hope you enjoyed the show today. God bless you, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. See you soon.